Over 170 years ago, near this spot in Auburn, Indiana, the earliest pioneer settlers of DeKalb County gathered to share their creations of land in hand. It was a somewhat primitive gathering. Agricultural exhibitions were featured. Admission was charged. The main event was a foot race. But their meeting began an historic tradition, one which would grow and morph through the decades to become the most dominant event in all of DeKalb County. That's because the exhibition on the Ford farm in 1850 would almost 2 centuries later be known as the DeKalb County Free Fall Fair.
The story of the fair is long. It is a story of development, effort, and creation. It is a story of challenge and adaptation, joy and celebration. The DeKalb County Free Fall Fair continues to be one of the most unique and celebratory events in the entire state. Sugar, fry oil, and lane power cords. Strobing lights, ringing bells, early mornings, and late nights. It is an event of community and camaraderie. So for the 90th anniversary of the DeKalb County Fair Association, this is the story of the DeKalb Free Fall Fair.
By all contemporary reports, early DeKalb County was an agricultural powerhouse. Grain crops, potatoes, fruit orchard all did well, as did livestock. Bordered in lands only recently forcibly ceded by the Potawatomi tribe, the county started small but grew quickly. Within that first generation of American settlement, DeKalb developed farm towns and a thriving agricultural economy. So it would surprise no one of that era that by 1850 there was a fair.
Early DeKalb County also experienced a population boom. With 8,000 residents in 1850, by 1860, the population had nearly doubled. The DeKalb County Agricultural Society was founded, and the new fair moved around the Courthouse Square. By 1859, only 20 years after Wesley Park had founded the city, Auburn had a dedicated fairgrounds. Park himself leased land north of North Street and west of Main Street so the society could set up tracks and build sheds, tents, pens, halls, and fixtures. Premiums were next on the scene. The awards were offered for a wide swath of categories: blooded cattle and work cattle, leather, iron, steel, woolen and cotton products, horses and sheep, hogs, chickens, even apple butter, honey, and cheese. Agricultural products, the original exhibitions, found their place too. Corn, oats, and potatoes were the major harvest, but prizes were also given to barley, wheat, sugar, clover, and fruit.
Auburn had always been the county seat, but during this era, Waterloo was the leading town. With such production and celebration happening in the county, Waterloo citizens organized the Northeast Indiana Agricultural Association and bought 39 acres on the north edge of Uniontown. Their new establishment was expansive. It had a half-mile track, an amphitheater, and exhibition buildings. The Auburn Fair had seen some success, but the Waterloo Fair took things to another level. Held October 15th through 18th of 1872, the first fair brought almost 10,000 attendees. That was at a time when the county itself barely had over 17,000 people. These fairs brought things never before seen: the first power-operated farm machinery in DeKalb County, horse races and buffalo chases, monstrous examples of produce, balloon ascensions, record horse races, nearly the entire county, and more came by foot, train, and carriage to see the biggest gathering of the year.
The DeKalb Fall Festivals brought great success, but as usual, the success wasn't without controversy. Auburn was the county seat, but without railroad connections, it had not grown or prospered nearly as much as Waterloo had. Some fast organizing by the leading citizens of Auburn preserved their status as the county seat, but the rivalry was not over. A month after Grant Township was separated from Union Township in 1889, Auburn organized an association for horticultural and agricultural purposes, improving livestock, embracing DeKalb County and all adjoining counties. There was just one other stipulation. The fair had to be held within 1 mile of Auburn.
The association bought 70 acres east of Eckhart Avenue to build buildings and a track, but it was all for naught. As John Martin Smith put it, competing fairs never worked. The people of Auburn stopped supporting the Waterloo Fair, and Auburn's own couldn't work without Waterloo's support. For the next 15 years, the fair all but disappeared from DeKalb County.
The turn of the century was a time of rapid change in America. The United States had just emerged from the Spanish-American War. Trust-busting Teddy Roosevelt had assumed the U.S. presidency. The momentum of the Industrial Revolution was changing the makeup of economies, societies, and communities. DeKalb County felt the effects too, for it was in this time that the area saw the beginnings of its famed automobile companies. Development of industry boomed in the county. Names like Eckert, Kiblinger, McIntyre, and Burig emerged. Spirits were high as communities built new businesses and ambitious institutions.
Into this context, citizens, merchants, and business owners felt the pull of tradition, and in 1906, after 15 years, came the Free Fall exhibit and homecoming. The next year it was official. The fair was back. In step with the pace of the county, the fair again reached new heights. Merchants donated premiums, including a turnbull wagon for first prize in the general exhibit. That'd be the equivalent to a car or a truck today. Exhibits at the fair included almost everything possible on a DeKalb County farm: wheat, barley, buckwheat, oats, corn, cake, cookies, and more.
The free part of the name also showed its worth as entertainment acts abound for the community. Trapeze artists balanced high above the streets, and the Auburn City Band played music. Theater acts performed on stage, and there were great fireworks shows. The Wednesday opening began with a parade and 55 units of patriotic nature. Marketers brought tractor demonstrations, the Court Theater showed moving agricultural pictures, and hot air balloons soared in the sky.
Those fairs were bountiful and merry, yet the American context, ever-changing, swayed again in DeKalb County. World War I paused the fair. The DeKalb County Council refused to appropriate premiums for 10 years, resulting in no county fair. The economic turmoil of the 20s and 30s affected the county's industry as well. Finally, in 1932, a group of interested members came together to ensure the fair's future. They called themselves the DeKalb County Fair Association. Following the county's legacy of the past 80 years, they valued the fall festival, free and open to the public, and they sought to hold the annual county fair in Auburn. Auburn merchants would rally to raise $1,500 for premiums, and the fair has been held almost every year since.
Fed from a century of tradition, the fair remains one of the most unique events in northern Indiana. It could be said that the fair can be summed up in 3 words: fun, food, and festivities. At the DeKalb County Fairgrounds, farmers and 4-H members exhibit livestock as well as horticultural and agricultural projects. Also on display are works of art, crafts, baked goods, and a wide array of personal interest projects. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been raised to build the livestock barns, exhibit halls, and other structures at the fairgrounds. Most recently, $700,000 was raised for the horse barn project, which involved the building of a large-scale barn adjacent to the riding arena. Attendees in this area of the fairgrounds can dine on hearty meals at the Saddle Club or delicious fare from the 4-H food stands. They can watch exciting competitions from the bleachers or can stroll through the barns and marvel at the exotic-looking poultry and rabbits.
The Courthouse Square, as it has for over a century, remains the main entertainment attraction. One of only 2 street fairs remaining in the state of Indiana, the entirety of downtown Auburn is bedecked with the unmistakable sights, sounds, and smells of the carnival. Cycling-colored lights draw eyes to the festival. Ringing bells and ricketing metal pair with the shrieks of laughter or thrills, and the smells of the fair carry through the city limits and beyond. Fry oil and cooking sugar, sizzling fires, and smoke. Coils of wire weave along the curbs and sidewalks. Canvas waves in the breeze, and tens of thousands shuffle up and down the streets to meet friends, spend money, and have a good time.
As they have for decades, merchants, businesses, organizations, and institutions continue to support the fair. and many show up in the tunnel of the merchant's tent. Products from the county are displayed and sold. Pamphlets are distributed. Drawings are held. Down blocks of shaded paths in yellow, red, and white, vendors market their goods in what is locally known as the world's largest family reunion.
For all who come to the fair, it is completely a unique thing. It is both a culmination and a celebration. It is both joyous and anxious. It is both agricultural and industrial. It has many facets of familiarity, food, fun, and festival. But as Fair Association President Eric Rao has said, the fair is about people. It's not just an association. A private association which doesn't receive public funding, the fair is what has always been, a product of volunteers, interested citizens, committed residents, dedicated community members, and stewardship of each year's income to keep the tradition alive. How does it happen? Perhaps that is part of the ambience of the fair. The late nights, the sweat, the dirty clothes, the commitment of a DeKalb County tradition. As past presidents Larry Dove and Les Nelson agreed, it's about making people happy. That's what it's all about. So through the efforts of the people of DeKalb County, to this day, the DeKalb County Free Fall Fair remains what it says, a celebratory fall event, an event for the people. Culmination, recreation, and celebration, full of camaraderie and riding the traditions of DeKalb over a century old.